Hi everyone, I'm Stephanie and welcome back to So Many Things. So the weather here has been bitterly cold. So we have been ranging in the minus 25-ish degrees Celsius. Well, the prediction for the next few days is into the minus 36. With the wind chill, we're looking at like minus 45 degrees Celsius. So this has really inspired me to get my mantle ready for Valentine's Day and feel a little bit of love in our house. I've had the girls help me with one of them. The others I actually did after they were in bed. So I had some nice quiet time to get everything done. So you'll notice behind me there is a nice garland, some hand-stitched hearts, and also a recycled heart wreath. So these are all done with items that I had around the house. Whether it be an old wire frame from a wreath that I hadn't made for Christmas, bits of scraps for the garland, everything that was here I pretty much had on hand, and if not, we went and got them. So these projects were actually very, very inexpensive. Our first project we're going to start with are our fabric hearts. So you're going to need to cut out some squares of scraps, 5.5 by 5.5 inches, and you're going to need two, a front and a back. I also cut out a heart, so I just did the same thing, a 5.5 by 5.5 piece of paper, and then cut out a heart that I liked. You're going to place that on top of your fabric square. And you're going to trace out, I'm just going to use a pen because we don't really, not that we don't care what they're going to look like, but they are just like a shabby chic little heart for Valentine's, so it doesn't have to be perfect. So there we go. Then we're going to take a needle and thread and just stitch gently around the outside. You could do this on your sewing machine if you would like. I'm just going to do mine by hand. It just has to be a running stitch, nothing fancy. And go all the way around your heart. Make sure to leave a hole down one of the long edges where you can stuff it, because they will be stuffed. I'm not going to tie off my end. I'm going to stuff it and leave the rest of my thread so that I can finish off that opening. Now, because these projects are all about using up our scraps and upcycling to some degree, my children had this pillow that they used to have and it blew a hole. So instead of just throwing it out, I've kept it for its polyfill. So this is what I'm going to use today, instead of going up to the store and purchasing some. Work it into this heart and fill it till I think it's full enough. So now I can go back with the rest of my thread and just finish off the rest of this seam. So what I like to do is I like to run, especially for pillows and such like this, I like to run my needle through the item, pull my thread really tight, and then trim after I've tied my knot. That way my ends are tucked somewhere in here and I don't have a little loose end flying around on the side. So we've gotten it all filled up. And now all we're going to do is trim around the outside. Again, this is supposed to be like a shabby rustic project, so don't worry too much about perfection. You can even use your pinking shears for this. It would give it a nice little edge. And there we go. So have fun making these. You can make them out of just about anything. I'm using up some leftover linen that I had from making aprons. You can also make them out of burlap or any cottons or pretty much any scraps that you have around the house. The next fun project I have to help decorate our mantle is a shabby chic garland kind of thing. So what I've done is I've measured a length of string, and just to make it easy on myself, I'm going to tie one end. And I'm just going to tuck it here underneath my board. I might put a little weight on it. So I've pre-cut all these scraps that I've had laying around downstairs. Some are leftover linens, some are cottons, blues, pinks, neutrals, and I've also included some ribbon. Oops. Some ribbon that I had left over. Just little pieces that weren't long enough for anything else for me to use them for, and a little bit of tulle. So what we're going to do is just grab a whole bunch of different odds and ends from this basket. And we're just going to start tying it in knots on this string. I'm going to tuck actually this other end down here. We're just going to take it and we're going to knot it. Now I cut my pieces quite short, only 6 inches long, because I knew that my garland was going to just lay on top of my mantle. And I didn't want anything too bulky. Hi, Miss Zoe. I'm just going to tie these randomly, changing up my fabrics, adding this and that. These again, you can notice like I've even left the fray on there and the raw edge. It doesn't matter, because really you're looking for the texture and the color, because that's what's going to draw your eye to this. So just keep tying them in knots and lifting them up your garland. Until your string is full. This last little project is going to take you back to grade school. So I've taken a metal heart wreath that you can get at the Dollar Tree. Mine was actually a circle and I bent it into a heart. And then I just took a piece of scrap burlap that I had down in my sewing room and I cut strips out of it just to cover it up. We're going to be hot gluing some paper scraps. So I thought the paper scraps would work best with the burlap as far as fabric that I had left over in my sewing room that I could use. I had an old book that I actually used to recover one of my dress forms with. So I'm just taking more pages out of that and I'm ripping them in half. And if you guys remember this, we used to do this, I think it was at Christmas. You'd take the piece of paper and a pen or a pencil and you'd like wrap it onto the end of the pencil or pen so that you had like a little flower. And then what we would do, we would dip it in the white glue and then stick it to our paper. Well, this time we're going to put a little bit of hot glue on the end. And we're going to stick it to our wreath. And we'll just keep repeating that until we have the whole wreath covered. Again, you want this to be a little bit on the rustic side, so you don't have to worry about it being you just want it to look nice and full. So I'm going to keep working on this and then I will show you the finished product. We're going to do one last project here together. I've got my daughter Bailey here with me and she's going to help me do this project. So I found that the mantel needed a little bit of height on either side. We went out into the backyard at my parents' house, who lived just down the street, and collected a bunch of tree branches. I also had some floral foam here and I've got some little heart stickers that I picked up at the dollar store, and I've got some metal cans that I've had laying around. We're going to create a little Valentine's Day arrangement. So we're going to start with our pot. And I'm just going to trim this down to fit inside the pot.
Perfect.
It's a little bit tall. So I don't want to be able to see this on the top. So it doesn't have to be perfect, just enough so that your block doesn't move around. And then we can put in a few branches. Now we don't want too many. Come on.
So Mom, where are we going to put the heart stickers?
Well, what we're going to do, can we make a nice little pile of these branches just to the side without knocking anything over? Careful though. So what we're going to do, I don't want any purple ones though, okay?
Why?
Well, because I think Valentine's is more pink and red. So the purples we can save for a craft for another day.
Okay.
So what we're going to do, you're going to peel the back. So these are just a sticky back foam sticker. You're just going to unstick the back and stick it onto a branch. Now that we've got all our projects complete, it's time to sit down with a hot cup of coffee or in my case, hot chocolate, and enjoy this cold winter day, sitting in the sun and reading a great book. If you've liked what we've done today, please comment below so that we can do more DIY crafts together. But for now, let's enjoy this sun and read a good book.